Everybody, Tom Stewart here. Our guest host today is Alonzo Adams, and this is just going to blow my mind. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this hour here. Our guest today is Kedma Ough. Kedma, how in the world are you today?
I am always great. Thank you for asking.
That is awesome. Alonzo, what's going on in your world, man?
Well, other than working with Kedma, I would say, busy coaching, busy running multiple businesses, but having fun. That's what it's about. Still having fun.
Right.
Oh, this is going to be a quick hour here. I'm going to try hard to keep up. Kedma, this is your first time on Smart Business Moves, I believe.
I believe so. Not my first time in doing these interviews, but first time here, yes.
Oh, you've been doing interviews all over the place and, some rarefied air. I mean, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit? Tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, yeah, I would love to. So Kedma means to move forward. Fifth generation entrepreneur. I like to say I started negotiating at age 5, and I've been building ever since. I actually came from the SBA world. So you should know SBA, because if you got a PPP loan or you got an EIDL, you know SBA really well. And did that for about 15 years. I've worked with over 10,000 companies. Alonzo will tell you it's very rare for me to come up against a company I haven't had some kind of experience, knowledge, or impact. And then I joined Conquer about 2 years ago as the VP of coaching. And Conquer is a business coaching program supporting home service industry entrepreneurs. I like to say we're the back-end MBA program. So we're not going to teach you how to clean windows, but we are certainly going to help you with finance, marketing, and admin stuff. So it's an honor to be here. I'm always grateful for the people that serve. So thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and just share your website here for Conquer.
Sure. Yeah.
And always a little slower on Mondays.
Yeah, everything's slow on Mondays.
Yeah, what's going on here? Here we go. Awesome.
Yeah, there we go.
If we want to know a little bit more about Conquer, I guess drop the URL and the comments here.
So people always ask, why Conquer, or why do I need a coach? I will tell you that I've never met anyone who is successful, whatever success means to you. To me, it's 7 figures or more in a company. I've never met anyone who has not had a coach and scaled their company. So, we are, Alonzo is one of our certified coaches. All of our coaches have built and scaled 7 to 9 figure companies. And it's a lot of fun. It's invitation only. We don't just let anyone in. It's a 1-year program, and we do a lot of wraparound support, including vendors. So it's a lot of fun. And if you want to just peek in on the second website, I can just give you a quick, 2-minute on that and the differentiation, and then we could start Q&A and talk about leadership.
Awesome. So your second website, Kedma, tell us about that.
It's right. Yeah, targetfunding.com. So I don't know about you and Alonzo, but the thought of reading financial reports it makes me feel so excited. It's like eating tiramisu cake. Now, people listening are thinking, what the heck? How could she see Cadbury or tiramisu like that? It's what I love. But, I wasn't always that way. Back in 2001, I had to leave a very difficult relationship, and I filed bankruptcy. And I'll tell you, and Alonzo and I talk about this a lot, some of the best lessons you will learn in life is when you're on the ground and people have kicked you over and over again, and you got to get up. You have no choice, or you're going to die. Well, that's how I felt when I had to file bankruptcy. And by the way, I'm very financially savvy, but when you're in a tough relationship and you have to walk away, you got to do hard things.
Right.
That was the best lesson, Tom, that I learned, which is why I'm in the field of funding, because through that, I reverse engineered how to find money, how to make money. And I've been on this path now since then. since 2001. And so I run a finance company. We help everyone in the home service, from SBA lending to lines of credit to getting grants. I mean, it's a big passion of mine, which we can talk more later. But that's where the merge happens. Because when we coach, inevitably, we need cash.
That's right.
And so,
Kedma, you know, most entrepreneurs, they don't know where to start or where to go.
exactly.
Well, they're just completely lost about where do I get funding.
Right. Right. And, I know we're going to talk leadership, Alonzo, because you know me, born in the Bronx, I'm straight up. Most lenders don't know where to take you. I am working with a company right now who called me and said, well, I went to this lender and this lender said, we can't do this, that, and the other. And I said, is it an SBA lender? Yeah. Well, so what? Well, I don't care what they say. I'm going to take it to another lender that's going to say something different. They said, how's that possible, Kedma? I said, because every lender does it differently. That's what we call underwriting. And if you have, some relationship, they're going to do things differently. So I think to your point, Alonzo, I am so clear about educating in that finance world because I want everyone to win. And if you don't have the money, you don't have the access, you'll get there.
So that's definitely something that we're going to want to talk about, because I know there's a lot of people like in the house cleaning industry, because we coach a number of them as well, that are a little bit uptight about funding, because that's kind of like borrowing money and that's like debt. And, they are like disciples of people like Dave Ramsey. And it's like, no, we don't want debt. And, we try to coach people to understand that, debt's a tool. And if you use it correctly, you'll be able to leverage that and build your business faster. But if you don't know what you're doing with debt, you can get yourself in trouble too. So, I guess that's where the coaching and the funding go together.
I would say a couple of things, Tom. What we're really talking about is what we call financial literacy in the government world. Financial literacy is educating ourselves. And I don't know if you play chess. I play chess. And here's the deal. There's nobody that can win a chess game until you know every single piece and how you play the game. It's just not going to happen. And what I like to do is take that area of funding and say, we're going to play a game, because it is a game. And I'm going to tell you all the pieces, because everyone is a piece. Here's what I mean. Most lenders will talk to you about their lending products, right? SBA will talk about 504. They'll talk about a 7A. They'll talk about a line of credit. Now, what if you went to that lender, Tom, and said, hey, I'm also looking at investors? What do you think that lender's going to say? Hands up, I have no idea, and I have nowhere to go. So if you go to an investor, they may have a whole different thing. They may say, listen, I don't care about your credit. I don't care whether you have cash in the bank, but I do care how many clients you have and what your recurring costs are and whether I can get skin in the game to scale it up, right? Because they have a different angle they're doing. So what I first tell people is, let's find out all the players on the game before we start panicking. And I do want to speak on the Dave Ramsey thing, because Dave Ramsey is someone that everyone admires. But some of the tactics may not serve that company. If Dave Ramsey's team says, hey, cut up all your credit cards, shut them down, Alonzo does that, he's going to be calling me up and saying,
well, one of the things that we try to help business owners understand is Dave Ramsey, at least from my perspective, for the most part, is talking to consumers. And your consumer balance sheet is a completely different deal than your business balance sheet.
Absolutely. However, if you screw up your personal balance sheet, it may hurt going after a loan if the lender's looking at your score and saying, whoa, wait, why'd your score go down to 650? Well, I cut up 8 cards, right? Yeah. So I think I would always suggest we look at both situations, because many times when you're going after loans, you have to do a personal guarantee anyway.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But, we also take them to like publicly traded companies, and you can look at all of their balance sheets. Some of the largest companies in the world, none of them were bootstrapped. They all had funding coming from someplace or another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I could spend hours talking about funding. It's a huge passion of mine. And especially with the last year, a lot of people were getting grants, right? A lot of people were getting subsidies. So For people who are worried or anxious or not sure, what I would say, let's invite education, because then you can have more choices. You can choose more. You can leverage more.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I know that we want to talk about leadership, and we'll get to that. But we're on something here I think is really useful, because
It is.
there are a lot of companies out there that are sitting on more cash than they've ever had in their lifetime.
Yes.
They couldn't imagine that they have this much money in the bank between PPP and idle loans, and now the ERTC tax credits are rolling in. And what advice would you have for these companies that are sitting on a bunch of cash right now?
Well, don't put it in your bank account. That's the first thing, unless you want to see what the interest is. You have to leverage that money so it makes 10 times what that money is. Now, I want to put a caveat here. Let's just make, and Alonzo, I'd love to hear your thing. Let's just make sure we're not messing up with the SBA, and not taking it and putting it, hey, I'm going to buy my Ferrari with it. But what we want to make sure is if the money is appropriated correctly, you need to be investing. Now, what are we investing in? We could be investing in acquiring, merger and acquisition, new companies. I'm working with that right now. I had a cleaning company who looked at acquiring a company, 1.2 million. We were able to get that loan, all documents done within 10 days, and then it went into closing, okay? So mergers and acquisitions, there's companies out there that did not have a lot of high cash, Tom, that, did not walk away with that, and they are looking at maybe someone acquiring them. Second, investing in new locations. Look at your situation. Where are you located? Are you in Madison? Are you in LA? Are you in Atlanta? Maybe you want to move into new location. Look at the zip codes. Build on that. Third is investing in real estate. You got the lowest rates happening in SBA right now. You can't get lower than me because I'm the queen of funding, because my real estate is locked in at 0.04%. So but that's because I know how to play the game. But next to what I have, SBA is doing, 504 loans, real estate as low as under 3%, locking in at 2.75 is crazy. Talk about cheap money, cheaper than EIDL. And then the fourth thing you got to invest in, you got to invest in your people. Your people are your cash. Talk about leadership. Your people are your cash. And if you're not investing in them, you might as well burn your cash. Right. So that's kind of the four areas I'd focus on. Alonzo, Tom, I don't know what you think, or you want to add on?
No, I love it. I looked at people that received the money and the funds, and they didn't immediately know what to do. Again, you're in a pandemic, so you're like, man, should I hold on to it? Because I don't know what could go wrong. I don't know when things are going to change. But that's when the biggest opportunities happen, is that moment that you have to take some type of risk. You got to do something that does scare you. And people were just hoarding the money, like Tom is saying, and not taking advantage of the real estate. I did. The market. I did. People were pulling money out of the market. I was like, no, put the money in the market. You're nuts. No, put the money in the market.
Right.
Because right now, at this time, this will be the biggest time in history where more millionaires were created in history than any time ever. Right. Watch it. Mark my word.
I know. You're 1,000% right. And if you go back in previous recessions, it's the same thing. The one thing that all the millionaires and billionaires say is, when things stop, pour into marketing, pour into customers, pour into to investments, because that's where millionaires and billionaires are. I do want to just put a note here for the language, because English is my second language. So when I hear a word, I want to make sure the audience can step into that. You said risk. And here's what I want to do, because I like to simplify things, because people make life complicated. It's not that complicated, guys. We can really all simplify it. I like to say, if I can teach it to a 10-year-old, I can teach it to anyone. Risk is, anytime we're taking a chance on something where we don't know what the outcome is. But what I want you to do is, I want you to realize that we're not talking about risk that has no built-in variables. We're talking about risks that we know we're going to be successful. So I just came back. I was in Utah. I just came back from doing a zip line, you know. So I don't know if you guys, Tom or Alonzo, have you guys ever done the zip line? Right?
Oh, yeah.
The mini one, not the big one.
The
not
what?
The you were on. I did the mini one.
The mini one. Okay, so I like to do scary ones, like, you know, I did the fastest one. I was clocking at 60 miles an hour in Utah. It's the second fastest in the country. I'm going to take the risk. Now, check this out. I go on there and they strap. First thing I say to the person strapping me, I say, hey, just want to know if you like your job. How long have you been here? Any concerns? Because the last thing I need is someone to strap me and just say, this is my last day, and I'm just going to take someone out. I don't want her taking me out. Maybe someone else.
How much sleep did you get last night? I mean,
have you gotten any training? Is this your first time, right? Because what am I doing, Alonzo? I'm handling that risk. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the strap is there. I'm going to look at what's going on. Okay, how does it work? How fast? Where are my brakes? Can I go forward? Can I stop? Where's the help if I get stuck? All I'm doing is taking that risk, and I am validating that I have systems in place to ensure that I'm not going to die. And it may sound so obvious, but we do the same thing with financing. People don't want to go bankrupt. People don't want to lose everything. But instead, what they do is they get to that step of the zip line, ask the questions. They don't check in with she was my team. I said, hey, you got me, I got you, right? I mean, I'm going to be up in the air, but you still going to watch me, right? You don't have a lunch break happening in the next 10 minutes, right? She said, no, I don't have a lunch break. I'm just checking. So I would say for anyone who's in fear, think about it as if you were doing a zip line and ask those questions so we can remove the fear. We can't guarantee 100% it's going to be, you know, risk-free, but we can gamify it where you have 70 or 80%.
There's never been anything gained without taking some type of risk. It's never been anything gained. You take a risk on relationships, marriages, it's all. You take a risk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a jar here with 100 marbles in it. 90 of them are red and 10 of them are blue. I'm going to reach in and grab one. I'm going to ask you to guess what color it is. You're going to say red. Every once in a while, you're going to be wrong. But if you invest your money that way, in the long run, you're going to be wealthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The first thing is I thought when I was hearing this money being offered for PPP, it's just my nature. But I'm like, could I actually take that money and double it? And if they want it back, I give it back. But I didn't cap the 100% return on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we want to be sensitive to is the Small Business Administration set up that as disaster relief. And if you qualified, they have presumed that you had disaster relief. And therefore, however, you could spend it on that, right? A lot of that was payroll. But to your point, Alonzo, if you spent it on that and you had cash reserved as a result somewhere else in another piggy bank, you should be investing.
Yeah. Our advice is to be working closely with your CPA, and every week that goes by, a little bit more of that PPP money, or if you're playing with Idle or something else, a little bit more of that is basically yours to invest in.
Right.
Just kind of make sure that you don't get upside down on that. I don't know what eventually the risks and the rules and so forth, because a lot of that's still being figured out, I think. But
a lot of it is, I was working with a company that got an enormous amount, over $1 million in PPP, and I was working with the direct CFO, and he was a little bit nervous because he wanted to make sure, oh my God, did I put the money right? There's a sense, and I said, look, one thing I love about the SBA is if you're honest up front that you screwed up, they will work with you. If you are not honest and you try to hide, you might as well get your handcuffs ready, because you're going somewhere, right? They will crack down. And in my role, I work with a lot of the credit managers. I'll tell you, many of them right now are spending their time because PPP is sort of seasoned out, and now they're going after fraudulent situations where, yeah, there are going to be people. But Tom, for the most part, We have honest people. If they've made a mistake because they didn't understand the interpretation, SBA is usually very forgiving, unless you went out and bought the Ferrari, then
Right.
probably not. And that is a real story. I have had a case where that really happened. So, that's why I use it as a case story. But yeah, I think just continuing to just educate yourself of what's possible. But I'm about invest. I mean, that's just where I am right now.
You mentioned invest in your people. So,
Yes.
Real estate, tangible stuff that shows up on your balance sheet, your personal wealth. That's kind of easy to get your mind wrapped around. Investing in your people is a little more abstract, and there's right ways of doing that, and there's wrong ways of doing that. And if you do it right, you're actually building value. But if not, you're just burning money.
Yeah.
Can you give some examples of what you mean by that?
I do. Well, first of all, there is actually a cost associated with screwing it up and having people leave. On average, there was a national report that was done 2 years ago. They did 250,000 interviews and asked people why they left. Number one reason people were leaving was because they didn't feel like they had the career opportunity to grow. They're coming in as a cleaner, first stage, they're just learning it, but they don't see anywhere to grow, and they want to grow. They're hungry. They want to make more money. They want to have more opportunity. They want to have more value. Actually, across the board, number one reason. The second reason that they were leaving was it was actually not for pay. It was a big portion of it was the management team. They didn't feel like when you asked them, why are you leaving? They didn't say, I'm leaving for more money, Tom. They said, I'm leaving because my manager doesn't respect me. I don't know. My manager doesn't talk to me. I don't feel valued. I don't feel appreciated. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going for an extra $2.
That's right. My sister just left her job of 20 years for that very thing you're speaking about. Right there, management.
It's management.
But they're asking on her way out the door, why are you leaving? What could we have done better?
It's mind-boggling. You're asking them why they're leaving. It's like asking a relationship. You've been in this marriage for 3 years, and the person says, I'm divorcing you. Why are you divorcing me? Well, if you have to ask that question, you need to get a divorce. You see what I mean? If you're asking that question, you have not been taking care of your employees. So the point, Tom, is it's not actually abstract. The survey proved that on average, it costs a company every time they have to terminate $15,000 per employee that's terminated. Now, where do they get those numbers? They're getting it from the amount of time it takes to find, right? You've got to put the ads out. You've got to do the interviews. You got to then hire. You got to then train. I mean, think about all the people. Think about Alonzo's time, right? If he puts in 3 months into someone, pours in and gets all the other resources, the systems, the software, and they quit, it's not $100. So no, that's
it's
right?
a ton. And if you really follow the numbers, you talk about turnover rates in the house cleaning industry of 200% a year, maybe more. But if you break it down, you've got some people that have been with the company for a long time, and you've got others. I mean, you're hiring a ton of people just to fill those last couple of positions.
Right.
So, and there's the thinking about, well, gee, I can't afford to invest too much in training. I can't afford to invest too much in my people because, I've got all these people I need to hire, and they're investing everything, getting people on the top of the funnel rather than focusing on, what happens once they get them in the funnel and making it a successful, venture for them. So how do I invest that money in my people though? What do I, just some examples of what you see from your clients in terms of opportunities are being missed, and if they've got some money, what are some smart things to do with it in terms of investing in your people?
So I have so much I could share on this topic. So the first thing I'm going to share is we need to stop being mind readers, and we need to do something that we rarely see. We need to ask people what they really want, not what we can provide, because the game has changed. This is now a market where employees get to choose where they want to work. And I say, look, if you've got the for hire sign, right, what you need from me, you got to switch it up. what I can do for you. Alonzo, what can I do for you to persuade you to join my team? So first you got to ask that question. I have a power question I ask on every single interview. And when I tell you this power question, the first thing you're going to think is, why do you ask that question? I mean, that's just not a question I would ever think of asking. But I'm going to tell you, if you ask this one question, first of all, it's going to make you a lot of money because you're going to know right up front everything you need to know about that person before you hire them. Do you have any idea what that question is? What's the one question of all the possible questions we can ask in the interview? What's the one question I would ask?
Tom should know. He's older than me.
No,
Tom,
Alonzo, you're coaching everybody.
I'll give you each one shot. Maybe you get it. Alonzo, one question. You only get one question in the interview, but that one question is going to make the determination of what's going to bring them on board. What would you say?
My question is always geared around, what do they want? You know,
what do they want?
Or about, what is their goal? Because, I don't know, maybe their goal is to go back to school. Maybe their goal is to maybe start their own business. I don't know. But I think if I understand exactly what they want or what they're after, then I position myself from a position of being able to guide or fulfill whatever they're looking for, seeing if it's possible or am I capable of it.
That's a great question. It's definitely my top list. It's not the top question, but it's great. I would say yes to that. 9.5 on that. Tom, what would be your question? Then I'll share what would be the one question?
Something along the same lines. I'm always curious as to why are you even talking to me about being a member of my team? So if I give you a blank piece of paper and a pencil and say, just write the perfect job for you, what would that look like?
I love that. Perfect job.
Blue sky it. What's
love that.
Your awesome job?
So here's my one question. If I'm interviewing Alonzo, I'm going to say, Alonzo, I have one key question. If you get hired on with this company, tell me the reasons that you would quit or walk out of this company.
That's powerful.
I like that.
Yeah.
Whatever they say, it is your job to make sure that never happens. So if Alonzo says, I would walk out of this company if I was disrespected in front of others. Okay, write it down. I will walk out of this company if you don't give me the training. I will walk out of this company. Whatever that is, they are giving you the clues to never have them walk away. That's your number one question. And if you don't have the systems to actually figure out how to fix that, you got to go back to the drawing board.
Maybe you shouldn't hire that person if you don't have the tools to fix it.
Maybe you shouldn't hire. Maybe what you say is, Alonzo, man, I'm going to commit. You don't have that right now. I'm going to commit to you. If you stay on, you work with me in the next 6 months, I will guarantee you this will happen, but I'm going to need you on board to help. People never walk away from situations where they feel that they are part of the problem, the solution, the community. They won't. So if you ask them right up front, so if you ask me what would make me quit, I wouldn't be even money. I would just say, I would quit, Alonzo, if I came into work and nobody valued what I brought to the table. What does that tell you? You better be valuing what I bring to the table, whether it's cleaning a home, whether it's getting education, because I've just told you the answer to what motivates me.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you talked about the second part, Tom, which I'm going to talk about is, what do you do when you have cash there? What should you spend it on? First thing you want to do, send out a survey. I don't care if you have 5 employees or 100 employees. Send out a survey. Let's do a quick survey, Google form. Find out what they want. What this is the mind readers, Tom, that drives me crazy, because we think what we want is what they want.
Right.
Well, we talk about this in coaching, Alonzo, right? When a coach like, man,
we went through that, right?
That's right. We went through it. I'm frustrated. Why are you frustrated? Man, I'm telling them to do this. I'm telling them to do that. And they're not doing that. I said, well, sounds like that's what you want. What do they want? Well, I haven't asked them what they want. Well, how about you ask them?
You make it sound simple. It's like, well, I'm going to send out an email to everybody, say, hey, what do you want? But I'm sure you need to be a little more tactical than that.
Well, I would say not really. So it could be a simple one, but I'd like to do it as a survey. So one of the questions could be, we're thinking about adding benefits. And maybe it could be multiple choice. What would you love to have? So maybe you don't have, maybe you have healthcare. Maybe you don't have massages. Hell, I want some massages. My back's been killing me because I've been cleaning. You're going to think this is crazy. Maybe they've been wanting a pedicure. You'd be like, well, why would they want that? You don't have to worry about that. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want more time with their children. Maybe they want to go back to school. Maybe they want a trip to Puerto Rico. The point is, instead of us pretending we know what they want, we've got to ask the customer, because your most important customer, Tom, is not the people you're serving at the homes. Your number one customer is your employees. And Absolutely. If you haven't figured that out, you're not making enough money.
Companies are not asking enough. I'm going to tell you right now, because what I'm seeing, someone's reading a book, they went to a seminar, they went to a convention, and they're coming back with something that they heard what someone else was doing. And it doesn't mean that works inside your company or with your culture.
Amen.
And all of a sudden,
let's go ahead and let's rebuild the, PTO policy, or let's implement a 401k plan, and all of that's kind of the boilerplate textbook stuff. But it's like, I don't want a 401k, but I'd really like a manicure or something.
Exactly. And you want to be listening. So one of our clients in Concord, he's doing about 2 million, pest control company, because we service all home service. Here's what happened. He came to me, he's like, what should I do, Kedma, to help my employees? I said, tell me more. Instead of saying, here's the answer, tell me more. We have a problem in our society. We're not actively listening. We're actively telling. Right. But we need to first listen. Tell me more. He says, well, I have about 50% of my technicians, they work late at night. Tell me more. They work late at night. They get tired. And, then after they finish their shift, they're heading home. I said, well, let's think about this. If you're working late at night and then you got to get home, you're tired. Do you think that you're picking up McDonald's on the way, or you think you're doing a healthy meal? He said, oh, we're picking up McDonald's. Right, because you're pretty exhausted, right? You're not going to come in and look, it sounds nice on TV, Tom, but you're not going to be, or Alonzo, you're not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be ready for my 5-course organic meal, right? I said, but that's what they need, right? He said, yeah. I said, why not partner with a company that will have homemade meals ready for them during their night shift that customized? Guess what he did? I wrote it in Entrepreneur this week because I write for Entrepreneur. He did that. Tom, he partnered with a healthy, organic company that made custom meals for his technicians to take home. I mean, my heart is so big because he gave them what they needed. And it didn't cost them a lot of money. And it had nothing to do with, raising the hour. It was like, man.
In the long run, or even probably the short run, it's making him money because that's a small investment compared to having to fill those open positions.
Right.
The gratefulness. Yeah. The gratefulness, Alonzo, where his team is like, man, thank you for a healthy meal. Thank you for accommodating that I have a, heart condition. Thank you for making a vegetarian thing. He made it personalized to their needs. But we would have never got there if we didn't ask the question. No. So when you ask Tom, what can you do? You can do as much as you want and be as creative as you want. But first ask, what do they want? What do they, not what do they want, what do they really want? What do they really want? So I've seen a lot of unique things. I've seen everything from spending one day a month at their charity paid for by the company. You know, I'm passionate for autism. Alonzo knows this. 2 out of my 3 kids have autism. Man, you give me a day where I can go to the Autism Society, paid day from your company. It doesn't have to be everyone does it, but maybe you treat, you know, you work the thing. Okay, Alonzo goes month June. Let's celebrate for that. And Tom's going to go November. You give me a day to spend all day to give back to a cause I believe in. I'm not going to leave you.
Mm-hmm.
Not, you know, I had another person where, you know, he was dealing with debt from his college things, you know, and trying to get back. Wasn't a lot of debt left. I think it was $3,000. Company went and gifted it. Now, they could have gifted it. They could have gifted it, you know, every single month. I'm putting $2 here an hour. But to say we've chosen this person,
Right.
we are writing off the $3,000. They may have gotten it in the pay over the year, but the impact of how they did it to celebrate, you know, that's newsworthy. So it's you know, again, I can speak hours on this, but we are not doing a good job in finding out about the people that work for us. We really are not.
We're really not. When you just look for the aspect, okay, when we had the pandemic come on, okay? So when this happened, these companies that weren't listening, the companies that didn't show that they cared, were the companies that had the most difficult time convincing their people to come back.
Right, right.
They were the ones that struggled because all they felt as though they were just a body, a warm body in a seat.
Right.
But the companies that have showed that they really care were the companies that were able to convince their people and show them that they were trustworthy. Because that's a big thing about coming back was, do I really trust this company?
Exactly.
Right. And so these companies are still struggling. And some of them are moving it back because they really know, realistically, those people are not going to just come back that easy.
Amen. You know, and let's think about it from the money thing. Because I said to you, Tom, look, you have a very important customer that if you don't take care of this customer, you're going to lose $15,000 this month. It's going to walk out the door because this customer's having problems. They're not happy with the house. Something went wrong. I guarantee you'd be out there. Somebody important in you, you'd be out there. And yet we don't realize that the very important customer is right in our own backyard. It's the employee. You're not treating them like the VA. You're not thinking that way. And how far do I go when I'm working my employee? It's non-negotiable. They're my number one, whether it's in Concord or outside of Concord. Here's an example. Sam Sproson was my ops manager many years ago. Unfortunately, she was killed in a bad situation. However, prior to that, she said to me, Kedma, she had been working for me for about 4 years, and she said, and I'm in Oregon. She said, Kedma, I want to move to California. I said, why? Why? You have me here. She said, I need the sun. Who needs the sun? I need the sun. Okay, what else? I need the beach. I said, don't we have a beach somewhere in Oregon? No, the beach here is in Oregon. There's not all, it's cold. Oh, God. All right, what else? Well, I need to kind of feel free, and I need some sand. I said, now how do I compete with that, Tom Alonzo? How do I compete with someone who wants to relocate that I need them, I want them? I mean, I can't compete with that. I'm not God. I'm, a superhero, but I'm not God. Here's what I did. I'm crazy. She had an office. The next day, she walked into her office. And I had created a sandbox with real sand that I put under her desk for her to feel in her feet. And then I had like a UV light set up so she could feel the sun. And then I had like pictures of like, some kind of like sunrise. And I said, Sam, I'm making California for you. And it was 6 months before, she passed away 6 months later. But I still remember that, and it makes me cry because that's how much I was willing to fight for her. And I want to, the next powerful thing I'm going to ask people watching is, are you willing to fight to keep people? You willing to fight for them? If you're willing to fight for them, then we're in a whole different leadership category. You see what I mean? And when people walk out the door, nobody fights for them.
Right.
How do I know that? Because I do the exit interviews for Conquer. Nobody fights for them. I fight for them. And that's why my closing ratio is very, very high. They don't know this, but when they show up to try to leave, they're not leaving. They're not leaving. I will do whatever it takes. I have about 60%, if not 70% closing ratio to bring them back into Conquer. That can never happen unless you're fighting for them, whatever it takes. That's where the problem is, Tom and Alonzo. I don't think we're, as employees and employers, I don't think we're fighting for them. I think we're letting them go and saying, we need another body. We need another body, right?
You're right.
Do you think part of it is we just don't understand the economics of it, like the lifetime value of a good employee and the amount of revenue and gross profit that they generate over the course of the year compared to, any customer that you would have in the home service industry? It's no comparison. But I don't think that we understand that.
I don't think we understand it. However, that to me is not a game changer. I think what we really don't understand is how to deal with human capital. We know how to deal with equipment. We know how to deal with our truck. We have all the systems there.
There's a manual in the glove box that says change the oil every 5,000 miles.
Right, we do training upon training. But let's be honest. If we invested the same amount of time in human capital and understanding what makes humans tick as we do with all of our cleaning supplies and inventory and equipment, we'd be different people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Do you find this becoming more important as, inflationary pressures, wage inflation, everybody's having to pay more, and who knows where that's going to be a year from now?
That it is the number one game changer. Study what's happening in the industry. I always study trends. There's a reason why mental health is at its highest need. There's a reason why companies are building transparency. There's a reason why companies are talking about diversity and inclusion. This is not a coincidence. There is, if you study the millionaire, the Fortune 100 companies, they're already doing this. They're already doing this. This is not new. They're hiring people that are managing the relationships internally to build great people, to build the warriors, as Elena would say. You're not building warriors if you're letting people go.
Do you see that series? It's on Showtime. It's called Billions. And
I haven't. I've heard. Tell us more.
Yeah, one of the main characters is Wendy, and Wendy is in charge of making these guys warriors. But she understands they need to be coached, they need to be counseled. They have their different psychological issues, but she's there to hear them. And she's there. She takes it all in and she analyzes, uses her analytics, and says, "You got this.
You got this.
You got
this." One of my very first jobs, just to bring it home, Tom and Alonzo, is I will never forget this. This is etched in my brain, and I talk about this when I'm sharing. I was working for a day labor company, so we did everything. A lot of times, people would say, I need a cleaning tech. I lost one. Subbing out, and we had promised to the community that we were doing drug testing for every person who comes in. We drug test, right? Because that was our selling point. We made sure, listen, if you need a day labor, I don't care what the issue is, and you need someone to step in for your admin, or you need someone to do some labor stuff, we do drug testing. Except we didn't do it. We didn't do the drug testing. So here I am, fresh out of college, new to the game. I find this out. This is a goddamn thing. I can't even make this up. And I go, oh my God, I'm out selling. Oh my God, I'm closing deals and we don't do this. Oh my God. And I walk into my manager's office, who was a female. Okay. This makes it worse. Who was a female? And I said to her, I just found out that I'm out selling and closing deals to get jobs, saying we do drug testing and we don't do drug testing. We don't do drug testing. And she looks at me, and this is what she said, Tom and Alonzo. I will never forget the words she said. What do you think she said? Before I tell you, what do you think she said when I said we don't do drug testing? That was my question. We don't do drug testing?
It's not in the budget. It's not in the budget.
Not in the budget. Okay, Alonzo. Okay, Tom, what do you think she said?
Don't worry about it. Just sell it.
Don't worry about it. Very close. She said, quietly, looking me straight in the eyes, and she said, Kedma, you don't get paid to think. You get paid to do your job. You don't get paid to think. You get paid to do your job. What do you think I did next? What do you think I did?
Looking for another job?
I gave my resignation there and then because there is no price for my character, for my ethics, for my soul. And the reality is that some of the people that have left your company, if you're listening right up, I'm going to give you the hard news, left because of you. You were the problem, not them.
Yeah,
and so
it's about leadership.
It's about leadership.
Leadership.
So, wow, you just covered.
I'm just I don't know.
You just covered both ends of the spectrum, though, because, on one end, it's like, check your brain at the door and just do what we're telling you to do. But with all these changes that you're seeing happen in the marketplace and in the workforce, as leaders, we need to be thinking about, how do we unlock the true economic potential of our workforce? You use the term human capital. That's something that we use a lot because it's an investment, just like, your vehicles and all the other stuff. How do we unleash the true economic value of our people? And for most of us, we're just scratching the surface. And this whole thing's evolving too, as an industry.
Absolutely.
We're just beginning to figure out how to do that.
And Tom, you want to know where I would take someone first? I would say straight up, you cannot teach leadership if you yourself are not a leader. And just because you own the company does not mean you're a leader. It doesn't. So you need to be coached first. You know how much
being an owner is not the same thing as being a leader. Very good point.
No, that's perfect because she's right. There's so many companies right now that are missing leaders. They're waiting for the leader to show up. They're waiting for him to show up.
They're waiting for them to show up. And you can't teach what you don't know. This is where you've got to do the hard stuff and open up who you are. How do I level it up? I was working with another conqueror. They're in the pressure washing industry. They do pressure washing and window cleaning. They're doing about 1.5 million. When we started working together over a year ago, in the span of 3 months, he lost 22 people. And his attitude first was like, man, they're just a body. Man, nobody listens. Man, they're not good. And I had to give them the hard news. Those 22 people are not the issue. And he says, well, what's the issue? I said, well, it's only you and me in the room. What do you think it is? He said, am I the issue? And I said, well, you said it, so now let's talk about it.
That's a hard concept for people to get, though. I mean, that's hard.
It is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm going to tell you the results. Today, he is loved and admired by his team because he changed. So much so, they actually celebrated and gave him a birthday present. And all the years he's been in business, they wanted to just celebrate his, I don't want to say his funeral. Let me just say it was pretty close to that. You know what I mean? We just talked about it. I said, man, you have changed. So, Tom, you can't expect other people in your network and community and your employees to change and you not be the first to change. You can't. Alonzo, you as a coach, how much do you have to grow in order to coach others?
you got to have a growth mindset to start with, and whatever I go into, and as a leader, like Lincoln, the one thing about Lincoln, he was always learning, looking to improve, looking to get better. And even though he was a president, he was still looking for that. And I think sometimes people get comfortable and they think that you can give them a manual or you can send them to a program or a seminar, and that's good enough. And they don't think they need to lead. But the biggest thing what's happening is where I'm going with this is the learning part. The leader stops learning. They're no longer learning. They're no longer being coached. They're no longer growing.
Right.
They feel they don't need it anymore. They basically have reached the apex and they don't need those things anymore.
Absolutely.
Look, I got success.
Yep. I would say, first of all, I want to disclose I've lived in 2 different countries. I've lived in the Middle East. I was born here for citizenship reasons, but I grew up in the Middle East. And let me tell you, in the Middle East, you need to learn how to communicate or you're not going to make it. Okay. And one of the things I think we have an issue with, not everyone, but a fair bit, is people don't know how to communicate straight up. They really don't. They don't know how to negotiate. And they certainly don't know how to do conflict management. And I don't care how many books you read. They're not living through it. And so what I tell people is we have a problem right now with these companies. It's not that we are not knowing how to communicate. We're not over communicating. When I'm listening to Alonzo or I'm listening to Tom, I'm listening to every word. I'm looking at your nonverbals. You may not know this, but I am paying attention because I want to make sure I'm over communicating what has to be said so that we don't have any confusion on what needs to be done. So, Tom, to your point, do we look at the balance sheet? Do we go take a class? Do we look at the investment? I think the first thing we need to invest in is ourselves.
Very good. Very good. If we're the leader and by default, we are the owner of the company, more times than not, for lack of a more qualified candidate, we are the leader.
We are the
need
leader.
to step up and learn how to be the best leader that we can be.
Amen. Third most important question to ask, Tom. Most important question to ask, third one. Would you work for yourself if you were an employee? Would you work for yourself? And if you can't say resound yes, you need to go in for coaching.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because we've got just a couple of minutes left before we make it to the top of the hour. And for those of you who spend time with us on Smart Business Moves, you know that we try to bring value, and it's not like trying to pitch anything really, and certainly there's nothing in this for me other than just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
That I can tell you that, coaching, a lot of times you look at that and say, well, gee, that, is some money that maybe I could spend for something else, or maybe that's a lot of money, but you're setting on a lot of money. The odds are good at that. And, I promise you, if you are participating in a quality coaching program, right, you're going to get that money back 10 times over. I mean, you mentioned 10xing your investment, but it's not hard to stretch your imagination when you actually look at the financial side of your business, just learning marginally how to be a better leader in the key areas. I mean, that's the difference between getting out of bed every day and having a job that you hate and actually building a successful business that's, you have the opportunity to create awesome jobs, you're able to provide awesome service, and you're able to build something of real value for yourself. And I mean, if you're already there, God bless you, that's awesome. But if you're struggling, take a hard look at coaching. And I've known Alonzo forever. Kedma, I've admired your work from a distance. This is the first time I've ever had the pleasure of speaking with you, though.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And it's awesome. Could you tell me just a little bit, or our audience really, I mean, I'm kind of interested too. I want more information. How does your coaching program work? And if I want more information about it, what do I do?
Well, first of all, you can come to me. I'm happy to always talk about it. Second of all, I would say that
what's the best way what's the best way to get in touch with you, Kedma?
You can well, first of all, I love LinkedIn. I have 38,000 connections. So make sure if we get on LinkedIn, that you let me know you met me here. You connected to Tom, Alonzo, I want you to know. Second of all, you could literally key in Kedma on Google and you will find me. If you find another Kedma, run. There should be one of me only in the world. I mean, really, it's just enough. But you can reach me out at kedma@targetfunding.com. I'm not here to sell anything. I want you to know, though, straight up, Tom, that any successful person in my circle has or is ongoing receiving coaching. And anybody who says, I don't know the value, you know what they're in? They're in this phase that we call, you don't know what you don't know. You think you know because you're working with your lens, but your lens is not my lens because I have keys to doors that you can't open. You don't even know the doors exist. You don't even know the doors exist. So how can you even open them? But I have them. I know that because I've been doing this for so long. So we have to get out of our head that we think we know everything. We don't. The smartest person in the room should leave the room because they shouldn't be in that room, right? So how do we work? Invitation only. You can learn more, but if you get onboarded, you can either do solo. So you would like work with a coach like either Alonzo, myself. We have 15 other coaches, and it's just one-on-one, right? Or you can go into a group situation, 4 people in a group, pretty intense. You can't hide there. There's only 4 every single week, and it's for an entire year. People go, "Come on, entire year? How could you do that?" I go, look, you know what, Tom? It's taken you more than a year to get to where you are and your habits, your way of thinking. You think I'm going to change that in 4 weeks? Not going to happen. I need a year to get into your head to give you the systems, right? So we do require a year because that's what it takes. And the number you want to leave with is 77%. 77% is the average income increase in revenue for conquerors who enter the program over the course of 2 years. They see a 77% increase in their business. So
do the math on that. That's kind of a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
We are at the top of the hour. Kedma, this is the first time you've been on Smart Business Moves. Promise me it's not going to be the last.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Alonzo, as always, my friend, you're awesome. You guys are doing good work over there. You're doing good work in the industry. You're helping professionalize the residential cleaning industry. It's something that I know you have a passion for.
Thanks for having me on. And Liz's shoes are big shoes to fill. So this was awesome.
Yes.
Great time.
Well, we will be back Wednesday. Hopefully Liz will be on the ground by then. She's had a nightmare traveling for the last week or so, and I think she's on her way home. So we'll see you Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Take care, guys.
Great. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.